I think this would make a good video if I were to respond to this comment on a video I made called Balding and Bearded. My wife wants me to get a new electric razor. So, Julian Sands, I've already made one video, with my wife that covered the first half of this comment. But secretly, shh, we're going to respond to the second half of the comment, okay? So, I want to address the second half. Let me kind of lead in the middle. What I say, Nick, if you want a beard, get bearded, regardless of what your girl thinks. Most likely she'll start loving it after some time when she gets fond of it. That's the part we covered in another video. Here's what the rest of it said. If you don't want it, then don't. But if you do it just because your girl doesn't like it, do it because you like it or dislike it. If not, you'd be what people called whipped. I know you don't like strong language, so I blip it. You two look lovely together, by the way. And I responded. I said, "You're right, Julian. I appreciate the way we can directly speak to each other without fear of offending each other. I'm glad you're here." And I talked about referencing Johnny Cash in this. So he says, and he went on to say, "I think we're all a little whipped after all. I know I am sometimes, LOL. Cheers, bro." I think we do need to address the lyrics of Johnny Cash's song, "I Walk the Line." Now, "I Walk the Line" was a song that Johnny Cash wrote shortly after he was married. I'm guessing to his first wife. And it's funny because this has showed up as one of the best rock songs ever with Johnny Cash here. And it's funny because it's such a well-written masculine love song. And I'm working on this song for my upcoming newest channel for music, and this is what I've been thinking about as I read this comment. I'm like, wow, this is Johnny Cash. Like Johnny Cash, so masculine, so rebellious, and a man who is truly in love. But dissecting the lyrics where he says, "I keep a close watch on this heart of mine." Okay, we all know that line. But then he says, "I keep my eyes wide open all the time." What is he saying? He's always having to, he's so in love with this woman that he's like, okay, what do I need to do? What do I need to do? "I keep the ends out for the ties that bind." Now when we hear that line, it just kind of flies over us like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. But no, it doesn't. What is he saying there? He's saying he's so in love with this woman that he's giving her both ends of the rope, saying, yeah, just go ahead and do whatever you got to do. Tie me up. Tell me what's going on here. You're in charge of what's going on. Like, then every line of that, when you really look at this song, he's basically saying, you've got me under your thumb. I'm going to do whatever you say. It's kind of crazy, but that's what this is all about. Like, I walk the line. That's the whole walk. Like, he's having to do whatever. And that's how it is. Like, when you truly fall in love with a woman, and this is the real thing, like, that's how it works. Like, that's the epitome of a lot of country music songs to begin with. This song was written in 1956. How many years old is this song? Like 61 years old? The song's been around for a while. But it's funny because, you know, this is the indirect or kind of like underground sequel to the version of this video that I made with my wife. I didn't want to read that second part with her. And of course, if you look at the original comments, when I say whipped, it said more than that actually. But that's the whole point. I mean, there's no shame in that. You know, there's glory in that. There's glory in meeting someone that you love and care so much about, that ultimately that's how the relationship's going to work. If it's gonna work through so much compromise that yeah, you walk the line. And if she likes you better clean shaven, then you shave, you know. And said before, you know, she doesn't care whether I go bald. She doesn't care if I shave my hair. You saw in the other video where she didn't even realize I had shaved until I mentioned it 24 hours later. So I think it is interesting, and I think that there's definitely something to be said about this, as much as I think the motivation to try to keep your hair, or the freaking out about going bald, is ultimately you want the you want to be seen as attractive to the opposite sex, right? And it's like, well, then you finally find them and you find the right person, and okay, well, just because you like the beard doesn't mean you're going to keep it, you know? She said in the, I think she said in another video, it's like, it's one thing when you're dating, but when you start to date that person, but another when things get serious. So I think that that's something probably overall that I've neglected on this channel to talk about. Well, what happens when you actually do find someone who really likes you for you? You may end up shaving your beard. You may end up not being able to have the buzz cut because she likes hair better, even if it exposes your hairline or whatever it is. Ultimately, she's going to be calling the shots. And that's something I think you gravitate towards once you get to that point. You know, sure, my channel is all about embracing your identity as someone who's balding and bearding. That's the concept. But you're still under the thumb of the girl that you fall in love with. That's how it works. And that hasn't really come up much until now, has it? Now that I got my wife on camera, that kind of changes the tone a little bit. But I think that's good. I think that helps this channel grow, and it shows us the direction as well. So I'm very grateful for that comment there, Julian. And I love to be challenged. And I think that that's a challenging thing. And I think it challenges us all to hear me say that out loud.